Hi guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals YouTube channel. My name is Samaria and this is my best friend and co-host Miosha. Tonight we are covering Married at First Sight season 15 episode 3. You guys are getting this a little bit early this week. But yeah, so episode 3. Before we jump into it, please make sure you subscribe. We are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and so it will really help us a lot if you guys went ahead and subscribe. So yeah, please do that. All right, so we are going to start with, I think, just Sasha and Nate. They didn't have that much. This was a really good episode, don't you think?
It was. I guess they had to make up for the fact that we missed a wedding.
Yes, true. And really, they have to make up for the fact that they've been dragging it for the last 2 weeks. But all right, so Sasha and Nate. I have their conversation was really cool. I think the part about their time on screen that was really interesting was the conversations with the friends.
Yes.
Because how did you feel about Sasha's conversation with Nate's friend?
Didn't I try to tell you last week? The side eye she was giving during the wedding, something was a little bit off there. She did what most friends would do to try to make someone feel welcome, like, oh, we're going to be including you in our game nights. But the way it was almost like she was including herself in their
marriage. Yes.
Yeah, which was just so strange. And even Sasha was like, you're getting emotional. I don't understand. And then when she said they had only been friends for 1 year.
1 year. So,
girl, bye.
I'll tell you, people on Twitter was like, they probably met on a dating app and it didn't work out. Like, there's something going on there because you've only known him for a year and you're the one who's representing the friend group. Like, and what's interesting is his guy friend before was like just letting her know, oh, he has a lot of female friends. How do you feel about that? And I loved that she didn't shy away. Well, she's 37, so I wouldn't expect her to, but I love that she didn't shy away from that. And she was like, there would need to be clear boundaries. She said it like 3 times. I'm okay with him having friends. There would need to be very clear boundaries. I need to find out what his boundaries are, and he needs to hear what mine are because we need to make sure that those are aligned. And she's absolutely right.
And it would go both ways. Like if she had more guy friends, he would feel comfortable if there were clear boundaries. Like, exactly. I don't think what she's expecting is unreasonable, but it was just strange, the way that they set that whole thing up. I'm like, okay, Lifetime, I hope it's not y'all pushing this. I hope that it's organic because it was just feeling a bit messy for no reason. The fact that they had only been friends for 1 year and then you pick for her to come on this show with you. We're your day ones that really should be getting emotional. And then, I don't know her age, but I think you should just read the room. When he's initially married, there's a new woman. Less is more.
And I feel like Sasha picked up on that because like the way that she reached for his hand, and she was very guarded during the conversation, the way she was looking at her, the way that she was receiving her like energy, it was all very interesting to me. And when she said, oh, we're going to invite you to like all the game nights, we do a lot of game nights. And she's like, game nights, huh? Okay, well, he's married now, so he probably won't be doing as many game nights. Maybe we won't play all the charades. I was cracking up. I'm like, yes, girl, because you have to be really direct and set those boundaries with the friend. Because I don't think she can. Nate, he's 34, but sometimes he gives off like a very young 34.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like that she's already in there setting what she's comfortable with, because he might not be comfortable going back to the friend and being like, oh, she doesn't like it, or it might seem like he's putting all the blame on Sasha or making it seem negative. So I like that right then and there she addressed it and was like, oh, we might not make it to all of those, if any. So I like that.
I loved how much she has butterflies and how she's so happy, and just to see her in a more relaxed mood. I just love that because I feel like in the first 2 episodes, they really painted her to be kind of, I don't want to say cold, but just like
stoic.
yeah, like stoic. I can do it all by myself. I'm strong. So it was just nice to see her guard be let down.
For sure.
So yeah, it was good to see her in that energy.
And I love seeing her like with her friends when they were having that conversation. I'm like, she's really goofy. Like she's hilarious actually. And her friends were funny. And girl, them chanting consummated, consummated. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so I agree with you. It was absolutely nice seeing her just like let her hair down and be very like goofy and fun with her friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I enjoyed them.
What did you think about the scene before we move on about Nate initially wanting someone who I think they said was between 27 and 34, but then he realized he wanted a boss and Pastor Cal had to school him.
Okay, so I do think it is possible for a woman to be like 27 and she might not be where Stacia is, but she might have the ambition and be like on her way to that. So I don't think it was impossible, but I did agree with Pastor Cal's advice. Like, if you're coming on a show like this and these are the things that you want, then leave some room open, because like Stacia's the perfect, she's exactly what he was looking for, but she wasn't 34. And so I don't know if Pastor Cal had met Stacia already and had an idea, but I do just like that he was like, you need to be a little bit more open as far as age goes, you know.
Yeah, and she has a lot of energy. She's looks beautiful. She clearly takes care of herself. And I think people have to also keep that into consideration, that age doesn't always equal youth. No, like most times I think it does, but not all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, just like how age doesn't always equal maturity, right? So yeah. But yeah, I like them so far. I do think there are some hurdles that like his friendships with the women, I think that's something that's going to come up. I think there might be some instances where maybe she is like a little bit ahead of him in certain things, like career wise. And so I think that could be a potential issue. And then how they handle conflict, we don't know, right? So, but they both seem really willing. And that's why I'm like, I want to give him a chance.
Yeah, I didn't get scammer vibes.
I didn't get scammer vibes either. Not anymore.
Yeah, not in this episode. So I'm like, okay, Nate, this could be a thing.
And not anymore in life, because apparently young Nate was very much scammer vibes. I guess tonight's the night where we can do, since we've seen 4 weddings, I know the last one we haven't seen yet, but we can give our predictions. So do you think Nate and Stacia are gonna make it or not gonna make it, or are you like in the middle with them?
I think they're both gonna say yes on decision day. I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of think so too. And I want them to, just based on how things went.
Yeah. What we have so far.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like them. So they're gonna get a check from me unless he starts acting crazy.
Or her too.
Yeah, it just gives. I think he might be the problem here.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. All right, moving on. We're gonna do Lindy and Miguel. What did you think?
Okay, let me get to my notes.
Okay, I can start.
Yeah, well, first off, I'll just restate what we already said, is that they have great chemistry.
Wonderful.
I was really thinking that, I don't know what the expert saw. I think it was the costume he was in the first episode.
Yeah.
He threw us off. So I was just like, oh, there's no way that this is going to work. But there's a lot of chemistry there. I love their energy. Yeah. It seems very natural. They're very attracted to each other. And I liked how much they both kept complimenting each other.
Yeah.
It didn't feel one-sided.
And when he was like, oh, well, I'm not going to tell you how pretty you are because you know you're pretty. She's like, you better tell me.
Yeah.
So I love when people are vocal about what their wants and needs are. So I like that, because she comes from that like more sheltered past, I wasn't sure if she would be vocal when she needed to be, but
look, she said, you better run me my compliment.
Okay, so yeah, that was the first thing I put down too. I love how into each other they are, But specifically, I was putting out, I love how into Miguel she is. That's what I put down at the beginning of the episode. But as things progressed, and you can let me know if you feel this way, it started just a little bit to give me like almost like fetish vibes. So she's been trying to learn Spanish her whole life. She moved to Spain to try. I'm sure she said that she either wanted or was very open to someone who, was from a Spanish speaking background. And then when she was talking to her friend, so I was already getting that vibe just a little bit. But then when she was talking to her friend and goes, oh, Puerto Ricans are good in bed. I was like, so that kind of did it for me. And I think this is fairly common. So I don't want to like say, oh, she's a bad person or anything like that. But I do think it's something that rubbed me some kind of way. Not even a bad, kind of a bad way.
Yeah. The only pass I could think of, I didn't think of fetish. I was just like, wow, she's really into him. Two things. One, she kept saying like, this is the best day of my life. She seemed to be genuinely happy and not in a I'm ready to bed you kind of way, but like, I just feel so good. So that I was just like, I didn't think of fetish. And then also, this is random, but I don't know if she grew up in San Diego, but like if you live in like a place that has a very high Hispanic influence, maybe there's this like mesmerization with the culture because it's so prevalent that if you don't embrace it, you're kind of the odd person out or the oddball out because it's so prevalent. And I only know that because I've lived in a border state. So I kind of get that like infatuation with the culture because you're so close. But you could be right. But I just didn't think it in the moment.
And I don't think it's the downfall of their relationship. So, and I don't even think this is like a bad thing on her. I think, some people do have their preferences. And all I'm saying is I think this is hers. And she has to be very careful how she phrases things because it was very borderline fetish vibes for me.
But you're right. The friend did mention it like, oh, so they're good in bed.
And so
she like, even was speaking a little Spanish to him and he was like, oh, it's good.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was cute though. Like, it's been something she's been trying to do for her whole life and now her partner does. So I think that's really a plus. Like, I think they did a really good job matching these two.
Yeah. And I'd say too, that with Miguel, that I was pleasantly surprised this episode because the first two, I was just like, I don't know. Is this guy all about Dungeons and Dragons and being all weird and stuff? But he didn't bring it up this entire episode. And I feel like we got to see a side of him that I think might be more palatable. Like, he has this quirky side and he's into his things, but that's not his whole being. So it's nice to see that they showed this side of him and it was a side that she really liked. Also showed his sense of humor. He's pretty laid back. We'll get to his interactions whenever you're ready to with like her family.
So I want to start with her interaction with his sister because I think that would be shorter because I have a few thoughts on his interaction with her, with her family. But I loved the conversation that Lindy had with his sister because it felt very like candid. It felt like his sister came and was genuinely like, I know him. I'm a resource on him. How can I help you? Like, what stuff do I think you need to know? This is what happened in our childhood. I'm not going to give you too much because I want him to have a chance to, but just so you know, this is how it was. So I really liked the sister, but then I also liked how comfortable Lindy was with saying how she felt about things and asking questions so that she could learn him a little bit more. So I thought it was a very productive family conversation that those two had.
I'd agree. I would also say too, when she was like, oh, I'm not going to tell you too much, when Lindy was like, okay, well, is there any red flags?
Yes.
I'm glad that she wasn't too shy to kind of take it there. Like, while I have you here in person,
I need to know.
Yeah, like what else do you have to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
And I like
happy.
that the sister was like, okay, so communication is huge for him because you need to know those things, because now you're thinking, oh, I can't say something. And he's like, no, I wanted you to say that. So I thought it was a very, very productive like family meeting.
Yeah, it was. And she gave her vital information that she can actually use instead of weird stuff, that people have done in the past. So
Yes.
yeah.
So I guess moving on to his interactions with her family, what are your thoughts?
Well, my initial thought is I understand people have their faith, their expectations, but I don't know that it's appropriate or that it was the right place, time for the family. Specifically, I think it was the brother
The older brother.
to basically be like, well, if you don't believe in God, like this is what we believe and this is what our expectation is. So I don't know if that was the right place or time for that. We don't know what she outlined to the experts in terms of like must-haves and requirements. So my guess is that I don't think they would have placed her with someone who didn't believe in a higher power, as they quoted it, if she wasn't going to be okay with that. Like, that's a big deal. And if they did, that was a huge, and if that was important to her, that was a huge miss. So when he was asking these things, the first thing I thought was, okay, your sister came from this background, but what is she embracing right now? What is most important to her? Is this important to her? Or did she leave from home, go off to college and do her own thing, and she is following whatever religious practices that she is right now?
Yeah, that's exactly what. So I think it could go one of two ways. One, if she is still religious, I think this could be the problem for them. Like, because even though like she isn't like SDA, I'm curious to see, because I think she did say, oh, I'm not like SDA anymore, Seventh-day Adventist anymore. But she still might have beliefs, And so I'm like, okay, if she still does, then this might be a deal breaker for her. Now we have seen, I don't think you watched this season, but in the Atlanta season, where the guy was more religious and the lady, she had like grown up around church stuff and decided against it as an adult, and they did pair them up. But I wonder if he wasn't, till this day, I wonder if he wasn't as director, if he felt like, oh, we can like navigate it, when he was talking to the experts before even knowing her. So yeah, I do wonder how transparent she was with the experts, and I really am curious to find out what she believes for religion. Now, I think you're right. If she doesn't care as much as her family does, then
mind your business.
Exactly. But I do understand where the brother's coming from, because they do want to understand who this person is. So I don't think it was inappropriate to ask him this. I mean, when else were they going to ask him? I guess at the breakfast the next day. But I don't know that I thought it was inappropriate, but I do think they asked like twice. And I felt like after the first time, and you saw this man like stuttering over an answer, because,
let it go.
Not because he didn't know what he believed, but because he was trying not to hurt y'all's feelings and be like, no, I don't believe that, like you don't need to ask a second time. So I did think it wasn't worth pushing in that moment.
That and them expressing their basically disappointment
I know.
that he is a person that has his own religious or non-religious beliefs. I think that's something you take up with your sister, in terms of importance. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, it's like at the end of the day, it's all everyone's individual walk. So and people can change both ways, like
exactly. But so. Yeah, I do think it's a conversation that they need to have as soon as possible, because even if right now she's not in a place where she's all about religion, there is a possibility that later she will be in that place again. Maybe not as far as she was, in her upbringing, but she might
Mm-hmm.
want to experiment with that side of her spirituality again. And so I think it's worth having a conversation, one about where she stands right now and if it's a deal breaker for her, but also, is this a partner who I can grow in either direction with? Like, if I grow in one direction, is he now going to be trying to leave me? Or is that something that he's okay with us sorting out? How does this play a role in like kids if we both want them? So I think they need to have several conversations about it. That's the only issue that I see with them so far.
Gosh, I hope these experts did not pair people who are not aligned spiritually.
So the last time they did it, the people did say yes on decision day. And then, like, within a year, I think it was less than a year, because they did an interview with this other show that I watch on YouTube. And then,
Mhm.
literally, like, once that show released the episode, the day after, they were like announcing their divorce. And so it's like, yeah. So we'll see. But I hope they work out. I really like them.
Yeah, I like the energy, the vibe. I
Yeah.
hope they work out. They're a beautiful couple.
They are. Both of them are
Yeah.
nice looking. When she was like, yeah, I first saw his suit and I was like, I was expecting something more plain. But then I got up close and was like, he's handsome. I was like, okay, girl. Because yeah,
Mhm.
that he wanted to stand out with his suit, and that's just the type of man you got, girl.
And that's he did. All
All
right.
right. I have a lot on the next two couples. So I'm really excited.
Go off.
So let's start with Alexis and Justin.
Ooh, hot and steamy.
So, what I said? I said Alexis is one of those wives who, like, when they go to the restaurant, she's gonna be like, "Oh, his steak wasn't cooked the way he wanted it. Can you take it back so they could?" Like, she's gonna be one of those wives, and he's gonna be one of those husbands. Like, they complement each other that way. Because
Mhm.
when she was shivering, and she's like, "Oh no, babe, you're shivering. Can you bring the heater a little bit closer?" Like,
He like,
I
okay.
know. He's like, "Oh, I got a wife to take care of that," like, because he was just gonna sit there and be cold.
Yeah, she said, "Oh, I really like him because he's going to allow me to be free, be myself." But what I did write down was, now
Ooh,
Alexis, don't take it and run with it.
right. That takes me to, and we can come back to this. I just want to
Mm.
say it in response to what you just said. But one of his friends said, as long as you don't assassinate his character, he's gonna make sure like you're good. And I loved that because he really does seem like the person who, I mean, we heard him talk about it this whole episode. Like, I just want her to feel loved. Like, at the end, he said
Mhm.
something like, I want to love her so well that she doesn't even have to like second guess what being loved feels like. And so I
Mhm.
really want her to like lean into that and not take advantage, which I think so far there's like a good enough balance, where she's
Mhm.
kind to him and like caring towards him. It's just the same night. It's the wedding night. But I don't think she would have, but she does have to watch like that line.
Yeah, but I mean, she did say that, she took some time, I guess, between the ceremony and, the pictures and realized that her initial reaction was silly,
Yeah.
maybe thinking he was too tall or not physically what she envisioned. So it
Hmm.
seems like she turned a corner within a short period of time. And
Yeah.
I think it was because he was showering her with compliments. She maybe had a heart to heart with herself, like, girl, what do you really need?
Yeah.
Part of what you want, obviously, but what do you need going forward?
You know what? I made that transition right along with her. I'm not even
You
going.
showed it.
I'm not gonna
Mary is
lie.
Team Justin.
I I kind of am in that, like, so obviously he's not Morris Chestnut,
I
but I do
mean,
think,
how many men are?
right, ain't nobody Morris Chestnut,
Yeah.
right? But I do think his personality so far, when he's with her, is making up for that.
1,000%.
Yeah, so I think his person is attractive.
He is. He's definitely embodying, like, you can't judge a book by its cover. Like, it's inside what's going to like have longevity,
Yes.
even though there may not have been that initial spark.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, that's what you want. Like, you don't want a Mitch, who we'll get to later, who like thinks they're the stuff and
Child.
thinks like they're the like, you can clearly see like Justin is like infatuated at this point, with her. And I think at this early stage, that's what it should be. There should be like that infatuation, like the reality of it all, like Lindy said, which is another good point. She was like, I know we're gonna have the fights, but I'm gonna live in this moment. Like, I'm gonna have my best day of my life and enjoy it. And so I think with Alexis and Justin, that's kind of where Justin is right now.
Yeah.
He should be.
Yeah.
I loved that he and his brother got to talk. And it seemed like Alexis made a really good impression on his family. Like, when she sat down and was
Yeah.
like, if we don't have it, then we'll create it. If we do have it, then we'll like grow it, or whatever it was that she said. It was something good, but I like that she reassured his family, like, I'm in this for the long haul too. This is something that I really want. I am committed. My intentions are pure. So I really liked that she made a good impression on the family, and then that the brother had a change of heart, because he was doing a lot. Episode 1.
He really was, but to give him the benefit of the doubt, I mean, he has more backstory
True.
than what we have. And so, it is a lot being sprung on you, like, oh, by the way, I'm about to get married on national television to a complete stranger. So
And
I'll
I
give
haven't
him
even told y'all about the process.
right.
It was a surprise to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she definitely did make a good impression. What did you think about her time with his friends?
I actually love his friends.
Yeah.
Actually,
he has the friends that a lot of the other people need.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Like, so the friend who said, as long as you don't assassinate his character, I think is my favorite friend in maybe all of Married at First Sight history. Like, he was very on it. And I think the other friend was like, oh, he's a little bit sensitive, which isn't necessarily a word. And I know how he meant it, but it's not necessarily a word that you want to hear the first time meeting somebody. So I was like,
I mean, maybe so though, because she came across as very brass, like in the first 2 episodes. So that could be good, like in this situation, for her to hear, like, girl, you can be yourself, but pull it back.
Yeah, like, don't hurt his feelings. But I felt like when the guy said don't assassinate his character, that kind of covered stuff. But that could just be me.
I think with the brother, I mean, when the friend said sensitive, I thought about the scene with the brother when he was crying. I mean, he's cried a good amount in 2 episodes.
I do think it was something good for her to hear, to your point, just because he's very much like all in with her. So like things that someone else might say that wouldn't be a big deal, because he's so like infatuated with her and he probably really wants her to like him, he might take a little bit to, like, take things to heart that she says that he wouldn't if another person said it. The other thing that the other friend said was, so if he calls us for advice, like, how do you respond if you're upset with him? Do you need space, or should we tell him that he needs to be like in your face trying to figure out what's going on? I thought that was a brilliant question to ask.
It was, yeah. Right? Like, how do you get her back?
And she was like,
message in a bottle.
Okay, she said, if I block you on the phone, send me an email. If I block you on email, send me a message in the bottle. That is so funny to me. But at least
throw a rock to my window with a boombox.
Right. Listen, at least she knows herself, and she's like, this is what I want. And now I think the friend's right. Like, now they can advise, hey, this is what your wife wants. This is what makes her tick. This is what you need to do. So I loved that question. I love when people have a good a good like invested support system.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what that like Q&A with the friends, that's what that was giving me. Like, we care about him. He decides to do this thing and we're supporting it, and we want to do what we can to make it succeed. So I
Yeah.
love
Oh yeah. I loved everything about that. And she was honest and open, as you should be.
as you should, because
Yeah.
you don't want to be like, oh, I'll be fine, give me space, and then now he's giving you space and doesn't understand what's
You're like,
happening.
why is he not calling me?
Right, he's not blowing me up.
Girl.
He only called me one time instead of 50. Like, what's up?
Also, one
Mhm.
thing that I forgot to mention earlier that I wanted to point out was that Justin said that he's a natural pleaser.
Yeah,
And I love that for her.
I know. I love that for her.
Yeah, I love it for her. I wish Kristen had a pleaser, but we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm excited to get to them. Just so much happened with Alexis and Justin that I want to make sure I cover it. But her sisters cracked me up. They were so funny. And he was like, after God is her. And they were like, oh, hallelujah. I was cracking up. But the thing that I really loved, because it's something that we've criticized in like last season's couples, and with just the families in general with Married at First Sight, when he was like, okay, any red flags? And they said, oh, I guess you'll find out. You won't hear it from us. So
Mm,
like, it's good and bad. Like, it's good because like obviously they were like just playing around about it, and they did
mhm.
have a frank conversation with him. But yeah, I like that they did that and didn't like throw her under the bus, which a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
sometimes like family members do on this show. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, let me let you know his flaws so you know. But it's like, chill, I just met this man a few hours ago. I might not want to know all his flaws right now.
That is what Chris from last season needed. These
Exactly.
women.
That's exactly who I thought of. That's exactly who I thought of. But no, I like that they were welcoming to him. They grilled him still,
Hmm.
and but they were respectful and open to like accepting him, and I think that was necessary. And then they had the conversation with her, which was very, it was a little TMI. Like, they were doing a little too much, but it was cute, it was fun. You get to see these people in their like natural settings, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, that leads into like things are hot and steamy between these two. Such a drastic change from
uh,
where we started. Like of all the couples where we thought it may have been hot and steamy.
that liquid courage got my girl Alexis.
Okay, she biting all kinds of bottom lips.
In her diary, Kim, like, she is so she's gone.
She is gone.
It's completely
I mean,
gone.
he's trying to be a gentleman. He claims that he's ready to wait. Justin, I feel like he has this episode showed that he has a good, fun personality.
Yeah.
You know, easy to be around. Now I'm seeing what she was saying, like, oh, he's easy to be around. You
Mhm.
know, I feel very comfortable with him. And I feel like this episode really showed it. The last episode, I was struggling to see it. I'm like, really?
Mhm.
I ain't seen much. But of course, she's seen more than what we have. So
You know what it is? I think he's just so willing to like adapt to her. Like, you see the pleaser. Like,
mm,
he's just letting her be, and he's
mhm.
like fitting in like a puzzle piece, you know? And I think I like that because he's not trying to come off super strong. Which, if he was trying to come off super strong, I guess that's fine, but I think it would clash with her. So I think they're a really good
Mhm.
pair. They're a really good like complement for each other.
They
Um,
are.
yeah, so I like that about them. I think the
Yeah.
last few things that I had.
Mhm.
Okay, so it was a little awkward, the garter thing with her mama right there. So
I
they
mean, Justin, you
showing
showing out here, Mr.
okay.
Celibate.
He was doing a lot. And then when they went to the room, I like that when he was talking to his friends, he said, oh, we'll probably just like talk tonight. Although there
Mhm.
were like other conversations that they
Mhm.
had that weren't as PG. but
Mhm.
but I do like that. He was like, we'll probably just chill today. And then I like that when they got back to the room, they talked about being like student body presidents and being the
Yeah.
babies. But I like that she was wanting to be respectful of his celibacy. Like, she said, I want to respect that, and I don't want to move too fast. So that's
Mhm.
where I can kind of see her like caring for him as well, and not wanting to like abuse like her powers as his wife or anything.
Mhm. Yeah, her
I
having
thought
the
that was
bigger personality. Yeah.
yeah. They had a lot going on. I was like, y'all can't wait for the cameras to leave, y'all.
Mm-mm,
I
no.
felt like I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have been watching.
Okay. So I guess now we give our thoughts. Like, are they gonna
Yeah.
make? Do you
Did we
think they're gonna
say
say yes?
did we say Lindy and Miguel?
We didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they will
Lindy and
make it.
Miguel.
Yes, Lindy and Miguel. I think I'm like in a 7 out of 10 they'll make it.
Mm,
Yeah, so I'm more towards that they will make it than they're not. Um,
okay.
that's where I am with them.
I'm a 50-50 on Lindy and Miguel.
Okay, I see I gave them 70.
Yeah, I think I'm a 50-50. I just think that this one episode and the last one, I think, painted them
Mhm.
in a very comparable light. Like, oh, they could mesh. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Married at First Sight, y'all do some funny stuff.
And it's a lot really fast. So like with Alexis and Justin, we saw the buildup even in just
Hmm.
one day. With Lindy and Miguel, they started here and they're still there, you know.
Hmm.
Even with Sasha and Nate, like there was some like time for it to breathe, you know, like some, okay, well, let me get to know you. But Lindy and Miguel came in hot. And so I think that's where I'm like, ooh, that 30%.
Yeah.
Once the real starts coming in, like next episode, she's talking about her student loans. I don't know if that's a deal breaker for him or not, but you
Yeah.
don't know. Like real life stuff happens and the religion stuff. Like so, 70%. I'm so on them.
Okay.
I'm gonna do 70% still. Alexis and Justin, I think, are gonna make it.
I
I
think so
think,
too.
yeah, I think with the experts' help, like when they hit a bump in the road, um, I do think they'll be able to navigate things well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold what I was gonna say.
No, say it.
No, I'm not saying it on
I've
camera.
I've given 3 yeses. I've given 2 yeses and a maybe yes.
Yeah, I'll just say we'll see what Alexis and Justin. I think they're gonna make it. We'll
Okay.
see. Yeah. Okay.
So let's get down to Kristen and Mitch. Jeez.
Mitch.
Yeah, I feel like Mitch needs his own special time because
I mean,
um
where do we even start with this guy?
so I'm glad that her dad walked her down the aisle.
That showed me that she must have known her dad and that he's very supportive and he wasn't going to say no,
Yeah,
which I'm happy for her in that.
he said you tried the normal way, it didn't work. So like, he's like, hey, whatever,
Whatever.
whatever works. And I was like, did she try the normal way? Because it seems like she took in a guy who was on someone's couch and didn't necessarily have a plan. So I don't
But I
know.
don't think the dad, I mean, do the parents really know the full rundown?
True, we probably know more than him. He's probably finding out with us.
Exactly. He probably thought he was a stand-up guy that wasn't buying rings on credit cards and then
That she had
defaulting
to
on
pay
them.
off. Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely insane walking around with a ring that you paid for.
That's embarrassing. Um, okay. I'll start with Mitch.
Okay.
He is such a diva, and him getting frustrated that his groomsmen didn't know how to tie a tie that he didn't even know how to tie. I was just like, you're trying to get frustrated about everything. Like every small thing you're making a big deal out of, and you too old to be doing that. Like you are 41. Relax.
And last time I checked, if you have to know how to tie a tie by yourself, you should know how to tie your own bow tie. So you should have looked that up. And not every guy uses a bow tie with their tucks.
Yeah, so you didn't have to
So
do that.
there's clip-ons like the little boys.
Literally, there are clip-ons. So yeah, that was annoying. And then I thought it was interesting that Kristen was like, I would just say this. Kristen was given thirsty all
You know,
episode long.
you know why it was giving thirsty?
Why?
Because he was dry.
No, I don't think so, Miyosha.
If she had a Justin, would she have been thirsty?
She came off really strong, Miyosha.
She did come off strong, but it would have been balanced. Lindy came off strong. Lindy came off strong and she came off strong. But the difference is that Justin and Miguel are very much into their women and they're not divas. Now, I'm not saying she didn't come off strong. I'm just saying it would have been balanced.
I'm saying I think my problem lies in that she didn't even give it a chance to see how he received her. She was immediately like, "Oh, you so fine. Are you so good?" Like she initiated. Like she didn't even. I feel like the other women at least like took a beat, let the men compliment them first. But I think
Right.
like when she got there, she immediately was on go.
So I'll say this. I
Mhm.
wrote that down,
Okay.
but I think because we don't know the editing and he's so awkward in terms of like, he didn't really give her any compliments to begin with.
He gave her nothing.
Okay,
Not
so
even
I
his
think
jacket.
her,
He
I
didn't
think
even wear
her
his jacket,
taking,
Yosha. He was like, "Oh, you cold? Stay cold."
I think her doing that was like her grasping at straws. Like, well, let me at least try. Even when she gave him the compliment about picture taking and all that, like she was really grasping, like, oh, I understand that he's the way that he is. I'm not okay. I'm not saying that she's not thirsty. I just think she was.
She came in ready to be married.
She did. And I think when she may have sensed that he was like, she was just like, well, let me do more.
I don't even think she gave herself the time to sense anything.
Really? You don't think so?
I think later on, like at the reception, was when she realized, oh, okay, I think I might be the more aggressive one. And so I think in those moments she was more self-aware. But at the altar during picture taking, um, during their first conversation, like I think she was just like expecting him to be as excited as she was. And that's not her fault.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like a person like him shouldn't have even signed up for
For
Married
this
at
show.
First Sight. He
Mhm.
literally said the only reason why this is the only way that he would get married is if he got married at first sight. So really, like people like him,
Mhm.
should they be on the show if you're going into it with that attitude? So I feel like she was like in a weird position to begin with just because of who they paired her with. Like, even if she held it in, yes, she may not have come across as thirsty, but this guy would have still been super dry and it would have sucked for her.
Yeah, he is super dry. Um,
He
I
was
think
even complaining about, oh, well, I didn't want a big wedding. And I didn't want a big to do. Well, then you should have taken the traditional route and found your own woman and
but you
then
can't.
eloped, right? Eloped, and then y'all could have got married barefoot on the beach. But no, you chose this process. Why are you like, oh, well, when she took her heels off, you're at a wedding. She's all dolled up.
What do you expect her to be? She expected he
To come
expected her
off
to look like how
how we look
how we
right
look
now.
right now.
We coming live the night of.
Okay.
Looking like who did it and why.
This is what he wanted walking down the aisle.
Yeah, he wanted all natural. No, sir. I was so irritated with him
Girl.
complaining about her taking the initiative to do what needed to be done for her wedding. It's literally a 1 day event. I could understand him being like, oh, she showed up for our date at the
Yes,
boardwalk in red bottoms.
exactly.
Okay, then I'd be like, all right, girl, go put on some slides.
Yeah.
But in this instance, it's like she showed up appropriately. I just was not here for the endless complaining about nothing with him.
He is such a complainer. Like, I'm sick of him and I'm not even married. Like, you are nagging us to death. And then it's like, you have on a whole tux. You're not giving down to earth. You think because you got a band-aid on your head that you're giving.
Child, that band-aid, I'm just like, take it off.
It stood out like a sore.
Have you never heard of liquid band-aids? Like, what is this?
And how bad was the game? I don't know. But
there are liquid band-aids in 2022. You don't have to walk around with those regular band-aids no more.
Yeah, okay, so obviously he wasn't feeling her, but when they finished at the aisle and she reached over and grabbed his hand to walk,
I was so done.
I was embarrassed for her.
She was just like,
right. And a part of me likes, a huge part of me loves the like take control thing. That's why I like Alexis. You know what I'm saying? But I do think it could be because we know more than she knows. So I think that's what it is. That's why I'm like,
that's what I was saying. Like, it seems thirsty to us because we have all the background.
Yeah.
But while she's meeting him, she doesn't know, is he a shy person? Is he this kind of person? Is he that? Like, she literally knows nothing
that's
about.
Why you come in chill. Like, you can't come in hot.
I think she wanted to come in chill, but then she started overcompensating.
Yeah.
And she, like some people, they get in their nerves and they're like, I need to fix it. I need to do something about it. So she's just like, well, let me just take your hand because clearly you don't know what to do. And these pictures are going to be super awkward with us walking down the aisle, not holding hands.
Yeah.
And, the other part that irritated me too with him is
so many parts.
I understand him maybe not having that initial attraction.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you have to have that there, but even his level of excitement for the process in general, just all the complaining about the beard and the bow tie, like the energy leading up, I'm not surprised that when he saw her and they started interacting, that it was that way, because that's how you went into it.
He's draining.
Yeah, you're draining.
I think I adore Kristen. I think she is very sweet. Like when they were doing the pictures and she's like, oh, I don't think he's a picture guy. But how many men are picture guys? It's like the fact that she gave him the benefit of the doubt it hurt me because he wouldn't ever give that to her. And I want more for her. Like, considering all she's already been through, I want more for her. And then when they told him to step out, when they told him to step out and have her dad come in, his friends were like, oh, like, how are you feeling? This, that, and the other. And he was just like, like he didn't have words. I'm like, you could see his friends trying to give him the words like, oh, I can imagine you don't have the words right now. Or I can imagine you don't even know how you feel because it's so overwhelming. It's like, he's not overwhelmed. He's a jerk.
When he had the words? When he was able to articulate how the ladies always want him.
Oh, I thought you were going to say when he was talking to her mom.
Oh, that was weird. He was just like, is that my wife? Now, I will say mama fine.
She is cute.
She snatched face and body.
She's cute, girl.
She's cute.
But for her to say to him at the reception, oh, like, what did you think when you saw Kristen? And he's like,
no words.
Actually, I actually took, funny story. I thought you were my wife. And I was like, is that my wife? And they were like, no, that's her mom. But yeah, I have to like warm up to the idea. It's like, not you sitting here. And her mom felt awkward because she's like, oh yeah. Like, that's so weird. Why are you over here like complimenting me when I've asked you what you think about your wife? You can't find the words then. So yeah, I do not like him. He gives off
he said when they were sitting at the their little couple table and about her being cold, he was like, oh, I'm not afraid to make a scene. What is that to even say?
You've been making scenes all day, my guy.
And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, I'm into her more now that she's taken her heels off. People aren't different people depending on their shoes. How you're giving young 41 here. What is this?
he's showing us why he's single. And I don't say that a lot about people because I think, there's someone for everyone, mostly. But he's definitely showing why he doesn't need to be married. So,
Yeah, he's definitely seems like he's not flexible. I don't understand why the experts pick people like this every season to be on this process, because if you're going into it with the attitude of this is the only way I'll probably ever get married,
mhm.
then if you would have never gotten chosen, then you wouldn't have gotten married.
Yeah, you don't want to be married. That's why this is the only way that you would have gotten married. And this poor girl desires that.
Oh, I mean, so much so. Even her dad, like it being sprung on him last minute, he seemed so excited. All her
Yeah.
friends, even her friends were like super excited, which I kind of wish that they wouldn't have hyped him up
Mhm.
from the beginning. Like before she even walked out there, she was just like, "What's all this screaming?" Like,
And you know what's interesting to me? Like, she think he's attractive. I don't see it, and it's not even the attitude. Like the attitude makes it even worse. But for me, it's like you weren't attractive to begin with, and now you have this bad attitude. He's the opposite of Justin. Like they both might have started at the same place for me, but now Justin is Tay Diggs, and and he is I don't know what's that grumpy guy at Christmas, the Scrooge or
screw,
whatever.
not Scrooge. Okay, so do you have anything else on them?
We have to say whether. Oh, yes, I actually do.
Oh, okay.
Because when Mitch ran into Miguel in the
Yeah.
bathroom, and then he tried to ask, "Oh, so what do you think about your wife?" He was trying to compare notes to see if somebody else was as miserable as him. But it's like, no, because other people came in with an open mind. So nobody's as miserable as you. It's just you, negative Nancy. Like you're the only one. So I thought that was interesting. And that was when he kind of changed his like demeanor a little bit and was like, oh, we just have to see whatever.
Oh, one other thing I'll add too is
Yeah.
like, Mitch is older, but I feel like he's showing his immaturity with how he's handling his perception of her. Like I
Mhm.
think him seeing her dolled up, which one, it's a wedding. So
And her
you're
mom was dolled up, and you are all like,
Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's a wedding, but even if it's just like a date night or you're going to an event and they're dolled up, like the clothes that people wear don't make them. Now, I understand you maybe don't want her to be obsessed with materialism, right?
mhm.
That may not fit in line with your core values
Yeah.
in terms of your recycling and all that. But I think it shows his immaturity in that um, a lot of times people will adjust based off of not just who they're with, but the circumstances that they're in. So
Mhm.
if y'all are like spending most of your time at the beach and she's working and doing whatever, like it may not even be that often where she's all dolled up. It
Yeah.
may be like once every quarter. So um once you're kind of at that stage where you've met your person and
Mhm.
whatever, maybe she has her dolled up nights when she's with her friends,
Yeah.
and maybe you don't see that part of her as much just because that's not your day-to-day life of
Mhm.
her going to work with her Louis Vuitton bag or whatever. But even if that was her, it's just like you've reached this age where you think that that should dictate your openness
Mhm.
to her.
Also, his finances aren't all the way like, and I get it, like you don't care about that. Like that's fine. I think,
But you want kids. He want to be a stay-at-home dad.
but I think no, he really does because remember he stayed with his nieces. But I
Mhm.
think it's one of those things where the person they paired him with is good for him because I think Kristen would be okay with that. Like I think she would be like, "Oh, he's passionate about the work, about the work that he does." And so I don't necessarily need him to make that much money. I can make money, you know? It's just if he were a nicer person to her, I would be okay with that dynamic. He's already showing that he's not even trying. He didn't come in open at all. He didn't come in willing to receive her
Mhm.
or like, yeah, he came in wanting everything that he saw in his head. He came in like Alyssa, honestly. So yeah, that's all. They're obviously not gonna make it,
Nope,
and
it's a no. And I
it
hope
shows
that
that
they
he's gonna
don't.
if she even considers making it with him, I'm gonna be mad at her.
Yeah, I hope that they don't. I hope she says no for her own benefit.
I hope she leaves him just like Chris left Alyssa.
I think they're gonna finish out the season though.
Yeah, they probably will. They probably will get into a whole bunch of crazy fights for no reason, because we can all see it coming. But yeah, that is it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please let us know your thoughts on these couples. Are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? And of course, subscribe, because we're here all season long. So we'd like you to join us, but also support our channel and get our numbers up. So, all right, we will catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.